Hi, welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and I am going to do a little vacation reading type vlog. I don't actually know exactly how much reading I'm going to get done because we are going to visit family, and when that happens, we spend a lot of time with family, which is amazing, but it's not so much me just laying around and relaxing and reading so much. It's more visiting and catching up and that kind of stuff. That being said, I am still bringing some books with me, and I'm going to share which ones I'm bringing. First of all, the big boy I'm bringing with me, Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. As you can see, I am creeping up on the halfway point. I'm about 450 pages into this 1,000 page book, and I'm really enjoying it. Although I feel really lost still at times 450 pages in, because Sanderson is really taking his time building this world, and there's a lot of different characters, a lot of moving parts, a lot of different magic systems. It's not just one magic system, there's several different ones, there's different races. It's a whole thing. There's so much to this, and from what I've heard, this is very much a ground laying kind of a book. Sometimes I read a bunch of it because like the pace is enough and the plot is continuous enough, and then sometimes I just don't get through hardly anything at all because I'm having a hard time because it's a new character introduced or a new country introduced or whatever. And we seem to have like about 3 main characters so far in the book, one being Kaladin, who was a military man but is now a slave, and then we have Llewellyn, who is kind of like a scholar who is trying to get this woman to make her her apprentice because she is planning some things that will help save her family and their house from ruin. And then there's Dalinar, who is the brother of a king who was murdered in the very beginning of the book, and so his nephew is the king and he's a high prince. And yeah, so those are like appear to be the 3 main perspectives we're getting so far. Will we get introduced to more? Possibly. We'll see. But I am through, I think, the second interlude, because there's like a prelude and then a prologue and then part 1 and then interlude 1 and then part 2 and then interlude 2, I think. So I'm about to start part 3. I'm also bringing with me Emma by Jane Austen. I'm buddy reading this with some lovely ladies. I'm not as far into it as they are. I am this far in, I think, I don't remember, 140 pages. I just finished chapter 15 this morning. This is also my current audiobook. So I have been walking our puppy in the morning and listening to an audiobook. So Emma is the audiobook that I've been listening to. I love to continue walking while I'm on vacation, but we'll just kind of see what the schedule and the itinerary looks like. But I hope to continue listening, but I'm bringing in the physical copy too, so I can kind of go between fantasy and classic depending on what I'm in the mood for. So I have some fun bookish things planned on this trip, which will be really fun. I don't really want to talk about them because they're for my daughter's birthday, and so they're a surprise. But I will bring you along with me and you can kind of see some of the fun stuff. completely different state than when I was for all the clips that I have recorded so far. So first we stopped at McKay's used bookstore, which is like 2 stories. I showed you some clips of that, and I have a haul that I'm going to share with you. And then after that, we spent the night in an Airbnb that someone built to be a literal hobbit hole, and that was like our big birthday surprise for our daughter. So that was amazing. That was in the mountains and it was beautiful, and now we are in North Carolina and we're right on the water in this Airbnb, and so that's really lovely and really relaxing. The lighting is not good today because it's really rainy and kind of gross. So I've just been reading and relaxing, and my daughter got a Nintendo Switch for her birthday. So we were playing some Mario Party with her earlier today, which was super fun. So before I get into the haul, quick reading update. On our way down, we wanted to listen to The Two Towers, but the audio version that we had been listening to, that was like an audio dramatization, but it was still unabridged, that was amazing, is completely gone from Spotify. We were really disappointed, so my husband and I started listening to 5 Little Pigs by Agatha Christie, which I have read. It's a Poirot mystery, and he's trying to figure out a crime that happens pretty far in the past. I want to say like 15 or 20 years prior, and it was interesting. And then also, been working my way through Way of Kings. I am now officially a little bit past the halfway point, and I'm enjoying it. Still feel a little lost at times. I just feel like this world is so big and so epic, and there's so many moving parts, and we switch viewpoints frequently enough that it can be a little disorienting at times, but I'm still enjoying it. So now let's get to the book haul. The one thing that I got that I did not get, that I did not purchase from a used bookstore, is I went to a library with my friend Joanna. She's in the clip where we're eating Korean food. She lives close to the area where the Hobbit Hole is, and she's like, oh, let's take a walk around the town. And she was showing us her town, and we stopped in her library, and they had a free book section. And I picked up City of Thieves by David Benioff. Am I pronouncing that right? Probably not. I think this is a YA, and it has to do with the siege of Leningrad, and so that just sounds really interesting to me. I have a few friends who have read this and think that I would really like it. Most of what I got from that bookstore were classics. I know, you're not surprised. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is The Woodlanders by Thomas Hardy. I have not read this one before. It was actually on my Amazon wishlist, and I found it for $2.50, so I was thrilled. I don't know what it's about, and with Thomas Hardy, I don't need to know. I'm just happy to read it. I also found a Nathaniel Hawthorne book, The Blithedale Romance. Never heard of this one before. I've read The Scarlet Letter, and then I'm going to read The House of Seven Gables a little bit later this year. And I think I've read some of his short stories at times too. And then I own a really pretty antique edition of The Marble Fawn. But I've never even heard of this one, so I don't know if I'll like it or not, but it was worth a try. I was super pumped to find this basically brand new edition of Middlemarch, and I don't know when I'm gonna get to this. Maybe next year. I really have wanted to try this because it's another one of those tomes that kind of intimidates me a little bit. The only George Eliot I've ever finished is Silas Marner, but I love it. So I don't know. I've heard mixed things about this, and I've even heard some people who have read it multiple times didn't like it that much on the first time. Second time they loved it, and like have had different experiences when they've read it. So I feel like it's one of those books that you want it to be the right time when you're reading it. I also got The Secret Agent by Joseph Conrad. Christie Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space just recently read this book earlier this year and loved it. And we have very similar reading tastes, so I was excited to find this one. Unfortunately, I did not pay 10 cents for it. I paid $1.95. Oh, I forgot. I found another Thomas Hardy, A Changed Man. I have never heard of this one before. I'd heard of The Woodlanders, but I've never heard of this one. I don't know if I'll like it. It says it's set in Casterbridge, so that might be interesting because I've read The Mayor of Casterbridge. So I don't know if there's any connection there other than the location. I have one more Thomas Hardy. I did not organize these before I did this video because right now the people that I'm staying with are out of the house. So now it's like a quiet time and a good time to be filming. So didn't organize, just pulled it out. But I have another Thomas Hardy, and it's Wessex Tales. So my guess is this is a collection of short stories. Again, I didn't even look. I think there's like 7 short stories in here. So that's cool. I also got this really pretty edition of Daphne du Maurier's The House on the Strand. I haven't read that. I just love this cover. I think it's really cool. I've started this once before, but I didn't finish it, and I think it has to do with time travel, which is really interesting. But you kind of can't go wrong with Daphne du Maurier, for me anyway. Like, I just love her writing. It's very immersive for me. And even books of hers that I haven't enjoyed the content or I haven't enjoyed the story as much, I've still enjoyed the reading experience because I love how she writes. Actually, this might be one of the ones I'm most excited about too. I got Tolstoy's Resurrection. This one was $6, so it was more, but this is one that I wanted to get for a while, and I've had quite a few of you recommend this to me as I was reading War and Peace and talking about how much I love Russian literature. I've had several of you say that you've read Resurrection and loved it, and so I'm really excited. This one is much shorter. It looks like it's less than 500 pages, which for a Tolstoy is practically a novella. I mean, I'm kind of kidding because he wrote actual novellas and short stories, but compared to War and Peace and Anna Karenina, this is really short. I also got an Anthony Trollope book. This is The Last Chronicle of Barset, which I'm assuming this is part of his Barsetshire, is it Chronicles? I don't know. Yeah, this is the last one, which I would guess by it saying The Last Chronicle. I have The Warden, and I think I have Barchester Towers too. I can't remember. I have a couple of these, but I don't have this one. I don't have all of them in the series. But I am reading, I think I'm reading The Warden actually for Victober this year. I was super pumped to find The Story Girl and The Golden Road there, and they were $1.75 each. These are like I think like the really old covers, which I still really like. I have Emily of New Moon in this edition, but I don't know if you can tell in the video, but like the covers are not scuffed up or anything. They are literally in like perfect condition, even though they're pretty old. I have read both of these before and really enjoyed them, so I was excited to find them for this cheap. It was way cheaper than buying them new. Okay, my last classic, I think that this is a classic. I don't know if it really qualifies as a classic or not. It was published in 1940, it looks like, so I think that that would make it more of a modern classic. How Green Was My Valley by Richard Llewellyn. I've heard a couple people say that they really liked this recently, and if it had been like a couple dollars or like $5 like a couple of these other books are, I wouldn't have bothered, but it was 90 cents. And I also love that the edges is like this green. I have a bunch of Agatha Christie's in editions like this that have the really old cover, and then like the edges of the pages are different colors. So I thought that was really fun. I got a couple of middle grades. I got Okay for Now by Gary Schmidt. This is the sequel to The Wednesday Wars, which I read last year. And it was one of my favorite books of the year, and it was my second favorite middle grade out of all the middle grade I read last year. Such a great book. So this is a sequel which follows, I think, the bully from the first book who moves away, and then it's his story. So I've heard that this one's really good too, so I'm looking forward to that. I also got Hattie Big Sky, which I have read this before, and I thought it was just really an excellent story. I really loved it. There's a second book in the series where she ends up like moving to the city and I think becomes like a reporter or something. I can't remember for sure, but I didn't like the second book as much as the first book, and this one ends in a place where you can pretend that this is just a standalone. I think it's one that my daughter would really enjoy when she gets a little bit older. Speaking of that, I also got a book for her. It's Honey by Sarah Weeks. I don't know where it is. She's reading it. She has it somewhere. This is the same author who wrote Pie, which is one of our favorite middle grade books. And Honey is about a girl who I think her mother has passed away, and she kind of has this suspicion that her dad is seeing someone. And so yeah, that's all I remember from it. I did read it aloud to her, and I think it has something to do with like a salon or something too. I can't remember. The cover's really cute though. Then my husband got a couple of books. There was one book that he has wanted for a really long time. This is A History of the Reformation. So he was really excited to find this. He's been wanting to get this for like years apparently, and he found it there for $4, and it's a hardcover and everything. Also, I don't know how we found this for $1.50, but they had a David McCullough book there for $1.50. And this is the history of the building of the Brooklyn Bridge, which is not necessarily something that we're super interested in, but my husband said that David McCullough could write anything and he would find it interesting. For $1.50, we couldn't pass it up. It's one of the few of his that we don't own. And then the last one is another historical nonfiction, because that's my husband's favorite. This one we actually paid a lot more for. This one we paid like $13 for, which is a lot for us. Well, at least when we're looking for used books, but This is The Witches, and it's about the Salem witch trial, and it looks phenomenal. And if you were to buy this book new, and it's pretty much in new condition, I'm sure you would pay like $25, $30 or something like that. So $12.80 is how much we paid for it. So it was still a good deal, and it's one that my husband wants to read pretty much immediately. So it was worth spending a little extra for that one. So that's it. Those are the books we got. I am gonna go read some more and enjoy this quiet, rainy day until my family gets back, and then I don't know what the plans are for the rest of the day. We're in an area where there's lots of family. We're going to a wedding tomorrow, so I don't know if people are going to be really busy with wedding stuff tonight, like rehearsal dinners and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if we're going to see any family tonight or if we're going to wait till tomorrow. So I'm not really sure what the rest of the day holds, but just enjoying all the raininess and the quietness. We are staying like right on a beach, and so I'm sure we'll go swimming and enjoy that. But today, not so much. Today's a good day to stay inside. My daughter's been enjoying her new Switch, and my husband and I have been enjoying drinking some coffee and reading.
Calling on his wife to agree with him, that with a little contrivance, everybody might be lodged, which she hardly knew how to do.
Well, we are home from vacation, and this is kind of a weird place to update, but I'm early for an appointment, and this is the first chance I've had to kind of wrap up my vacation reading. It was probably the most relaxing vacation I've had in a long time that actually enabled me to get a ton of reading done. So I actually read, I think, about 500 pages of The Way of Kings, which is amazing. Read like almost half of it. So I have about 100 pages left. I'm not really going to update you too much on my thoughts on that because I have a super spoilery vlog that I am filming at the same time throughout the entirety of me reading Way of Kings, and that will probably come out like about a week after this reading vlog. I got a little bit read of Emma while I was walking in the mornings, listening to it I guess, but overall didn't finish that much of Emma. But we did finish Five Little Pigs by Agatha Christie. Apparently this was a reread for me according to Goodreads. I had read this before and rated it 3 stars, and I don't remember anything about it at all. The first year that I got into reading Agatha Christie, I read most of her books in 1 year. So if they weren't super standout books, then I don't remember a lot of them. So like I said, this is a murder that has taken place, I think it was like 16 years prior. And Poirot is going back and interviewing all the people who were present who might be suspects of the man who was murdered. His wife was convicted, but they have a confession from her right before she was executed that in fact she was innocent. She wrote it to her daughter so her daughter would know. So Poirot is now investigating the other 5 people who were there. I continue to give this a 3-star rating. It wasn't horrible. I mean, I didn't guess the ending. I thought I had guessed it, and this has happened to me several times where I think I'm all sneaky and I've thought through motivations, and I had the motivations of one person correct, and so I thought that that implicated someone else. And when Poirot sat down to go through all the suspects and talk to everybody, that's the person he called out first. I was like, yes, I was right. But then that wasn't where he ended. So I was wrong and I didn't have it figured out. But I felt like all of the characters were supremely unlikable, from the person who was actually accused incorrectly and executed for it to literally every other person, including the person who was murdered. I'm like, these are all terrible, immoral, horrible people. They just all have terrible attitudes and they're so selfish and so terrible. So yeah, it wasn't enjoyable for me in that respect, but I did like the ending. I think that my husband liked it better than I did, but it remains a 3-star read for me. Well, that's it. That's where I'm gonna wrap up this vlog. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of our bookish vacation. It was really fun to do some bookish type things and just have a relaxing reading experience. I got to see the beach and I got to see the mountains, so it was amazing. I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. If you read any of the books that I was reading, what are your thoughts on them? Would you ever stay in a hobbit hole? Because that was for sure my favorite part of the entire vacation. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me, and I will see you again next time.